NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. An American Revolution. By Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. By McDonald's. And by Nextel, only from Sprint, helping NASCAR Nextel Cup fans get more done.
David Reagan turns J.J. Yaley, and then Casey Mears gets into the back of Ricky Rudd. And all of those cars have varying degrees of damage. Look way down right there. There is Yaley, and Reagan is to the inside of him as they come off turn number 4. There's the initial collision, the one that sends both of those cars around. Now just coming into screen, here you'll see Ricky Rudd. Jeff Green ducks to the inside, and it was Casey Mears that got into the back of Rudd as everybody tried to whoa up.
That actually happened way on down here nearer the start-finish line. So Casey was still in the gas, looked like, when Ricky tried to slow down.
Dick Berggren?
I'm with J.J. Yaley, who has been watching the replays on our monitor. Was there any place you could have gone, anything you could have done to have avoided that?
I guess got a better start, got away from the 6. I was on the outside there. It's a really long race, and to get taken out on the first lap is just absolutely ridiculous. I couldn't get any close to the wall, and I actually was tightened up out of the way, and I thought someone actually got into the 6 car, but I guess at some point you need to realize that the throttle pedal hinges, and if you're pushing, if you're loose, whatever it is, that if you lift off, you save a bunch of wrecked race cars. So a little stupidity on his part, and a bad day for the Interstate Batteries team.
Massive damage on this car, Mike Joy.
And this was a home game for Yaley's sponsor. It was sad to see him out of it. He came in here 18th in points. Now Ryan Newman got a little bit of damage to the left nose of his number 12. Johnny Sauter, you saw his onboard view.
Casey Mears had a little damage too. I think they've got it patched. There's Newman's car. They put the bear bond on it. It's probably better than it was.
Very well could be.
We're getting set for the restart,
Here's
completing
Mears' car.
6 laps.
Not a lot of damage, a little on the left front of his car, so those 2 cars seem to be okay.
So caution at lap 1.
And
David Reagan.
Rudd is back out there, and he was up to speed as he caught up with the back of the field.
Green flag.
Looks like Jeff Gordon's teammate, that 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, he wants the lead of this race. He could not run a fast lap yesterday in practice, but his car was so good on long runs.
Larry, you say that, and I looked up statistically, and that 48 car's only led 3 laps here.
Yeah, Hendrick only actually has 1 win here with Terry Labonte back in like 1998.
So he'd probably like to lead more than 3 laps, unless, of course, the last 3.
Down to 168 miles an hour, middle of the corner. And now accelerating down the backstretch to near 200.
Watch this right here. Throttle going off in the corner. I mean, he was not off of it a second. Picked it right back up well before the center of the corner.
Well, last couple of weeks we've been running about 90 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, and that's almost pit road speed here.
Dale Jr. battling Clint Boyer there. Jamie McMurray in the midst of that battle. Looking back from Jr., they have cleared Boyer. And now McMurray and Stremme in pursuit.
I think what we're seeing again this week is a product of the 48 and the 25 helping each other. And I don't mean right now on the racetrack. I mean in the pits, in the garage, preparing their cars for these races.
Did you see Kyle Busch get loose? Did that look a lot like the car that he wrecked earlier this week?
That's not the first time he's done that in these first few laps either. He's been pretty loose all the way around the racetrack.
He only got the 1 final practice with that 5 car, but I know they were very happy with that car in that final practice. Just runs up on the back of Dave Blaney in that 22 so fast. You could see his car just wiggling as he was going through the bumps right there, but he's like a man possessed right now.
He was trying to cut under Blaney, and when he did, it just got a little loose with him.
Jimmy Johnson has a run coming off turn 2. Caught Jeff Gordon right in the middle of the corner and follows his tire tracks to 3. How about the race leader, Steve?
Well, Mike, as was pointed out in the pre-race show, Jeff Gordon has never won here at the Texas Motor Speedway in 12 tries. I talked to his crew chief, Steve Letarte, this morning, and Steve said if you take an aerial view of this racetrack, none of the 4 turns are the same, and it's taken a long time for Jeff Gordon, even though he has a good finishing average, to get comfortable here. It seems like they compromise one end or one corner for the other, and they're trying to make him comfortable in all 4 turns here today.
Tell you what, the guy on the move, I've been watching him through both ends of the racetrack. Carl Edwards in that 99 car. He's one of the 12 drivers that has a win here. Just drove into the 8th position. Now he got him 3 wide. There's Kevin Harvick in that 29. He's got his hands full right now. He's been going backwards quickly.
Larry, we saw the same thing with that car here last year. Got lapped early on and had a hard time making it up. I think he had to get the lucky dog a couple of times.
He was 12th and has fallen back as Jamie McMurray holds off Kurt Busch.
And Mike, just like I said in the opening, you got to go to back to your notebook. And if you wasn't good here last year, you might not be good here this year.
Here's Busch on the bottom in a backup car. He's going to try it again. Not that time.
Of course, if you're Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, you got 2 notebooks to choose from.
Well, and that's true, Darrell, of all these multi-car teams that run similar setups and share information.
But Darrell, you're right about looking at last year. Like we were talking yesterday, it was less than 50 degrees. Right now it's pushing 70, which is exactly what the temperature was a year ago. 73 degrees when they dropped the green flag.
I knew that, Larry, you would know that better than probably anybody here.
I had it in my briefcase.
Mark Martin is back. He's back behind the wheel of the Army car, and he's got a mirror full of his former teammate, Carl Edwards, in the 99.
Mark was awfully good in final practice yesterday in this Army car, and we talked to him, and he sounded confident about what he's got here. And he's not raced since we were at Atlanta over a month ago, the last time we actually raced the current car.
And you know what else? He's not irritated. He hadn't been to 2 short tracks and been bumped around, knocked around. He didn't have to drive the car tomorrow.
That's it.
So he comes in here with a really nice attitude and outlook.
Time for our first AT&T Singular Virtual Crew Chief question. Who do you think Dale Earnhardt Jr. will race for next year? To answer, text the word crew to 191 on your AT&T Singular wireless phone. Singular is the new AT&T. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. B is Richard Childress Racing. C is anybody else. This will be interesting.
I got an opinion about that.
Racing back at 10th place, David Stremme, who was strong here in opening practice, trying to close in, as Jeff Gordon has led every one of the 16 laps we've run so far in Texas. Jeff Gordon has stretched it out on his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Jimmy Johnson, as you watch from the DLP HD TV cam on board Tony Raines. Here's a look at Gordon, and here is the amount of his lead, which continues to grow.
And you know, he was not happy at all with his car yesterday in practice. Our guys and girls in the garage area were reporting on that car. It was loose, it was pushing, it was doing everything but what it should do. What'll be interesting is if this car ever gets back in traffic. That's going to be a telltale sign of how good of a car he's got. He's been in clean air the entire race so far.
Yeah, that's been a problem they've had with that car sometimes. It's good out front, but it's not so good back in traffic. But I got to tell you, we watched the scoring monitor yesterday. We said, boy, Jeff Gordon's in trouble. But that's where having information from the past and having a good notebook and anticipating what this track's going to be like today makes all the difference in the world.
Gordon has led every one of the 24 laps so far. We had a caution on lap 1 when David Reagan ran into J.J. Yaley. That also damaged the cars of Ricky Rudd, Casey Mears, Ryan Newman, and Johnny Sauter. Otherwise, we've been caution-free.
You know how I know that 24 car is really good? Because he smokes the tires every now and then. That means that baby is down.
You know, we're not really surprised to see Juan Pablo Montoya running that good. Had a great race yesterday. They had a lug nut problem. But we always look at Texas like a sister track to Atlanta Motor Speedway. And, of course, we know how well he ran there. Same race car. Got his first top 5 finish there last month. Finished 5th in his 42 car.
One car that is not having a good day in the early going is the Pennzoil Chevy of Kevin Harvick. He has drifted back from his 11th starting spot. Harvick is currently 17th, Matt.
The shell car was extremely neutral in happy hour, Mike, but right now Harvick is just fighting an extremely tight condition. In fact, Todd Barrier said if we get a caution, we're going to pull a spring rubber. But Kevin says, I just cannot believe how much of a difference a spring rubber would make. He goes, it must be the change in track temperature that we've seen over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, and that's normally what happens, especially with the radial tire. If you've got one end, it's not sticking when the track is cool. Like, for instance, if the front end is not sticking, the car's pushing. When it heats up, it just sticks less. It's not like the car goes to loose or push. It almost just makes whatever end's not sticking worse.
Now, you saw Martin Truex in the one put a hand out the window to try to point Harvick to the inside, but Harvick not quick enough to make the pass.
Yeah.
They continue single file.
He's pointing out to that side, and he's shaking his head no.
Harvick don't want no part of that.
I don't want to go there. Thank you very much.
Stremme in 9th place now with Kurt Busch's Dodge in tow. Busch to the bottom.
You know, we talked to him yesterday right before the Busch race after final practice. Again, as we saw in the pre-race show, this is a backup car. He had the crash on Friday, and where the front springs go, there's a bucket, and that bucket came out of the left lower control arm. That's what caused him to crash. But he was pretty happy with his race car, and this car runs right around the bottom right now, it looks like.
Yeah, he's made some good progress. He's moving forward, going the right direction.
Here, let's see if we have a little bit of that smoke you talked of off of Jeff Gordon's car.
And this is one of the things that I kind of watched the old 24 car. The reason being is because that's the coil bind setup. And Jeff wasn't comfortable with this car. Watch this thing. It'll just fall down on the right front. You see that little smoke coming out of there? That thing is just rolling over, falling down on that right front. The right front's rubbing up in the fender, and that takes some getting used to. That's a driver thing where that thing falls over all at once. You say, oh, I'm wrecking. But it isn't. It's just taking a set, and you got to adjust your driving style. That's why they had a lot of trouble on the 1.5 miles until he was able to adjust to this.
And that coil bind setup is where the front springs are very soft. When the car goes down in the corner, it just sits on those front springs and just stays down there, keeps that nose down in the racetrack.
Well, Gordon's lead is shrinking. That's because we have a new second-place car. Jeff Burton has passed Jimmy Johnson for second. Burton, who got his very first Nextel Cup win here in the inaugural race in 1997.
As fast as you go here, and as hot and slick as this racetrack, Darrell, you said it in the pre-race, it's a thinking man's race, and we know that man is a thinking man. And what did his teammate tell us yesterday? What did Clint Boyer tell us? He's driving, talking about Jeff Burton, that car, as hard as he can every single lap.
Yeah, he said he's putting it all out there. Every time he goes out around the racetrack, he's putting it all out there.
Now look what's happened to Tony Stewart at the bottom of your screen. He's gone from 7th back to 12th place where he currently runs. Krista?
Tony Stewart has his hands full right now. Back on lap 25, he came on the radio and said, my car is a pile of junk. It's all I've got. He's been searching the track looking for different lines. He said, if I get off the bottom, I am dead tight center to exit.
How do you fix that, Larry?
Well, I mean, they're going to have to get very aggressive with their adjustments when they come to pit road, just like we talked about. I'm sure there's going to be wedge taken out. There's going to be some serious air pressure changes.
And you can see just how far to the left he's having to turn the steering wheel. And that just tells you that he's putting way more wheel into the car than he wants to, and the car's not turning for him. When you see that left hand or that right hand go over the top like that, that means you've got a lot of steering input.
And the only thing Tony Stewart can do right now is roll out of the throttle. It almost won't turn with that steering wheel. He has to slow the speed of the car down.
That's exactly right, Larry. That's what good drivers do. They adjust to what the car is doing.
And it really shows on the watch. Stewart's lap times 29.5 seconds, while Jeff Gordon goes around here in 28.9. 0.6 of a second difference. That's a lot.
That's huge. Of course, if Tony's car is bad, I don't know what that means about McMurray, because Tony has caught him and trying to pass him.
But just as we anticipated, we just saw Jamie McMurray in that 26 car moving up to the top of the racetrack. We already have at least 3 grooves of racing here just shortly into this race.
And you saw the 20 car wiggle as it exited the corner. That's again because you've got the front wheels turn hard left, and when they finally get a little bite, the back end wants to snap out.
And when you have to roll out of the throttle on the exit of the corner, it just kills that entire straightaway speed.
Jeff Gordon, your leader, Jeff Burton, Jimmy Johnson, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. just rocketed past Denny Hamlin, used a lap car as a pick, and moved up into 4th place.
I'm sitting in a hot rod today.